Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boys. I'm Matt. He's Lenny.
Bang, bang.
We're in Good Taste Studios, and this is for those with good taste. And if you have good taste, hit the subscribe button, because today we're jumping into the wonderful world of wrestling. And
Professional wrestling.
Did I just WWW that?
Wonderful world of wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
World of WoW.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It was pretty, the weekend started last week, and there were a ton of events, and I did my homework, Lenny. I watched a whole nutbuster amount of wrestling this week.
Yeah, you were definitely an active participant in the wrestling world this week, Matt.
To say the least. Where do I send the bill?
Your cable provider.
Or where do I pay the bill? It's one or the other.
Whoever your Cox cable.
Sure.
Pay your Cox.
Don't say Cox on this show.
No free ads.
No free advertising, baby.
But yeah, but if you were gonna watch a week's worth of wrestling, Matt, you picked, I'd say, two pretty big like shows, two good shows, the two best kinds of wrestling that are available these days. I think you got them.
Yeah, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
To say the least, when I heard winter was coming, I got a little nervous.
I'm sure you got a little excited, both because of your childlike humor and secondly because of your love for Game of Thrones.
Well, that's why I got nervous. Because I thought I was tuning into some White Walker shit, dude. I thought things were going to go down.
Oh, I was getting Buck, yeah. Young Buck.
And thankfully there were no White Walkers, but there was a lot of shit going down.
It was an action-packed episode of AEW.
In the form of a battle royale, to say the least, where I was like, holy badooks, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was an okay battle royal. You had some moments in there. Biggest one, of course, being that for a moment in time, it seemed like the Inner Circle was kind of on the same page. They were doing
that's
pretty
what
well.
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it looked like they were gonna headline it. They were gonna make the main event,
mm-hmm.
and somebody who is becoming a fan favorite on this show just keeps doing awesome shit.
Yeah, he has a certain way of just finding his way into stuff, huh?
Yeah, we're talking one freshly squeezed. Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, and also the other guy who's a mainstay on this show at this point, we're a pretty big supporter of, MJF. Yeah,
I hesitate to say fan favorite because I'm still not sure if he's Rosie O'Donnell's kid.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to like him, so that makes the perfect sense.
Yeah, it works.
Get a little heat from Rosie O'Donnell.
I would say when we're in the trust tree, I'll say I am an MJF fan. But I mean, you already said, there was a little bit of turmoil going on within the Inner Circle.
Well, I loved the ending. I loved the stuff with Sammy Guevara. I loved the MJF, I was trying to help, but it's like, no, you just
you pushed him out.
You just pushed him off, dude.
The commentators made no hesitation on pointing that out, and it was like they were kind of stirring things up.
Well, and the thing that AEW does so well too is that happens. And then you have a few segments later, Chris Jericho's match. Or was it the next segment? I feel like it was very bang, actually.
It was right next segment.
So Chris Jericho comes out, does his dope-ass entrance, and then you end up... Can
we talk about the jacket?
Yeah.
The jacket's so dope.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I love it. The Paymaker jacket. So you have them come out together. And then is it just Jack Swagger who's outside the ring for most of the match?
I believe so,
But Jericho's getting beat up. He ends up being put into into the walls of Jericho by... now the name is slipping my mind, and it's really insulting because he's Frankie Kazarian.
Kazarian, there we go.
So he's fighting Frankie Kazarian. He's in his own move, and MJF runs out, and he's about to throw the towel, and Sammy Guevara's like, "Fuck no! That's my guy. He's gonna get out of this. He's fine." Grabs the towel away. Right as he does that, it ends. I think it's a Schoolboy by Jericho gets the win, and he sees that Sammy Guevara has the white towel in his hand.
And what the. WTF, man.
But what they did so well is you had a storyline that was consistent and built through multiple segments that made me interested, even though the matches, I didn't love the battle royal. Most of the time you don't. There are kind of a lot of people just standing around. Yeah, when I say
it was crazy, it's one of those things where again, the Sammy Guevara finish for Sammy, I guess you could say, there was so much craziness going on there, and then he pushes him off, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, now that's his guy. You're not supposed to do that. Yeah. And now I'm like, well, holy shit, Orange Cassidy's still in it. What's gonna happen? And then you're like, hey man, there's some shit going down. You need to do a little bit more investigating. Watch the Chris Jericho match, and it's all starting to make sense.
Yeah, they put the pieces together for you. And now you have a match set up for this upcoming week. You're going to have MJF against Orange Cassidy. That's 2 marquee names. It's a pretty big match. I'm interested to see who they give the old W to here.
Who do you want them to give the W to?
You always want to, it's a tough matchup, actually. I like both guys a lot.
I was going to say, don't you dare pick against Orange Cassidy.
You also have this week, the Inner Circle. They have to come to a decision, come to a truce, align a little bit here. I wonder what comes first, right? And I think that'll tell me who wins a little bit. Because if they do the Inner Circle stuff first, and they kind of hash things out, and they're on the same page, I would have to say MJF is winning.
Comes away with a win, yeah.
On the other hand, if it doesn't seem like they come out of that on the same page, I'm going to say that somehow Guevara maybe causes MJF to lose, or maybe you get something like that, and Jericho has to kick one of them out, and he chooses MJF over Guevara. The other thing here is, if the match goes first, now there's a lot more of a question in here, because if he loses, that could lead to some type of dispute.
Could be a domino effect
that breaks them up even further. There's a lot of ways.
If you're MJF, you just want to stay off the top rope because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go MJF winning this one though.
I'm not gonna pick.
No.
I'm gonna hedge this one.
Great
and
job.
I'm gonna say
done that
I do plan on watching it, and may the best man win. Hopefully he does.
So there was a big return on the show.
Oh yeah.
Big maybe is an understatement too. Like, it's massive. Like, at least for a couple weeks. Sting showed up on fucking TV.
Welcome back, but it also did prompt a bit of a question that I have for you, Len.
Shoot, buddy.
What age is the point of enough is enough?
5 years ago for Sting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was his ending with the WWE run wasn't what it should have been.
Which I've heard.
It sucks for him. Like, he has to job to fucking Triple H. It's the 90s, and then he has the stuff with Seth Rollins and ends up getting hurt. He wasn't treated right there. He had some moments, but he should have won at WrestleMania. He should have wrestled The Undertaker. That's the match we've all always wanted. Does it excite me to see Sting on my TV? And this is, to me, originally a WCW move. It's also TNA did this move. And now I see AEW making the mistake. It's just, you bring in a guy like Sting and it's going to pop ratings for a month. But is there a program that we're really all that interested in happening? If anything, it's got to lead to a cinematic match maybe.
Where do you go with the storyline?
Him and Darby Allin interest me a little bit. Is it like a long lost son scenario?
Okay. Shout out to Darby Allin for getting a dub as well.
Yeah, he champion, TNT champion, right? But the issue here and why it's WCW and why it's TNA is you have a bloated roster as it is. You have guys that you've brought in, such as the Perfect 10 there. Either way, his name is Peyton Royce is his wife. So It's funny. I remember the girl. I can't remember his name. Ty Dillinger. Ty fucking Dillinger.
Oh, the Perfect 10. Yeah. Okay.
Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger is a perfect example of a guy.
I remember when he was in the WWE.
They paid to bring him in, right? He's made no waves whatsoever, but you haven't really had a way to put any shine on him. Penelope Ford, who we know very well, right? Her and Kip Sabian with Rusev. Another big name that you just brought in, who is just kind of floundering at your lower card. And this is the double standard in wrestling right now, Matt, is that in WWE, if these things happened, we would call attention to them, right? As hey, the WWE is ignoring all this young talent and we're putting over these old guys. Why is Sting going to take up 30 minutes of your 2-hour show?
Yeah.
When you have guys that could better use that time? Rusev's going to get passed over again. This guy has been top tier for 3 or 4 years in terms of fan reaction. And he time and time again gets passed up for whoever the old flavor of the month is at the time, right? And here we are again with Sting being brought in for I just can't see what the real long-term upside is aside from winning ratings big for the next month.
You got to wonder who's going to be the person that they have him dance with. And is that person going to be the person that you put over?
So that was the interesting thing. I mean, we haven't even actually gotten into the return itself, right?
No.
What did you think of how it was done? Did you like the intro video? Because I thought that was pretty fun.
I thought the intro video, it got me excited.
It was pretty cool.
It got me excited, and that's where I was hesitant to ask the question, when is enough is enough? It was because if I can feel that feeling, maybe it's not enough, right?
Yeah.
But after watching that video, watching the entrance, you get your couple minutes with it, and it's like, okay, I don't really know if I want to see him wrestle. If he's just gonna sit there, cut promos, and get me hyped, sure, we could do that.
Yeah.
But it's not really something that I'm excited to see him fight. I mean, I was more so kind of counting down the time until we can get to the main event.
That was that's a lot of it in general when you know that's coming, but I think that's normal with boxing. That's normal with MMA. That's, if you have a big fight coming at the end and you're just, especially with boxing, like, did you watch anything of interest before Errol Spence fought?
No.
So
no, I took a nap because I knew that the Errol Spence fight was going to be at midnight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's uncommon, it was surprising. It definitely piqued my interest. I'm gonna watch to see where it goes, but I am gonna question it unless. Because you can't even put anybody over. What's the value in beating Sting in 2020? I don't think there is a value there.
And that's my question.
This is just a glory run for him. So that's the issue, is that he doesn't need shine, and you don't need, like, there's just other things you could be doing. It's a questionable decision. But let's get on to the best part of the night.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Something that to me lived up to the hype.
Kenny Omega's mullet.
Yes. His hair is glorious, isn't it? Like, it's got a certain, like, shimmer to it. It holds the water really well that they pour all over their head.
Who had a better mullet, and all I kept thinking of was Danny McBride in Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, I was also thinking about, like, I feel like old Shawn Michaels had weird hair like that in the early 90s.
But let's talk about
Kurt Hennig, maybe, kind of like, he didn't have the fro like that, but it was like
don't talk about.
I'm thinking about the way
it
holds the water, like, it's just it just absorbs it like a chia pet.
It makes him look active. It makes him look like he's doing a lot. That's the best way I can put it.
But did you agree it lived up to the hype?
Yes. Yes. At least for me, building the anticipation, a couple weeks earlier. I'm always interested to see Mox get in there.
Yeah.
He's slowly becoming my favorite over at AEW besides slowly but surely MJF. What I will say is there was a lot of momentum changes. Whoa, don't quote me. A lot of momentum changes.
Way to stay consistent.
And I understood the result. I understood the final. I know why it happened the way that it did. I wasn't okay with Moxley losing.
It had to happen at some point, and if you were going to do it, this seems... two things. It seems like the angle to do it with, because it's a big angle, a lot of buzz. Secondly, it's the guy to do it with, because Kenny Omega has not shown in AEW yet, and that's really your experience with Kenny Omega. And mine's not much greater than yours, except for I've seen some of his Japan stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the best wrestler in the world, probably, right?
Yeah.
And he hasn't really gotten to show it as much in AEW. He's done it in tag team matches, but he hasn't done it on a single run. And this is him getting that shot to do it on a singles run, and I think he's going to impress. And why I've been really happy that I've been getting you to watch wrestling is, like, I think this is the type of wrestling that people like us who really like combat sports, who are really into MMA and boxing and, like, more of those physical type sports. This is the type of wrestling you should be watching, because, like, everything was, like, crisp, fast, hard, like, all of it.
There wasn't any fat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everything seemed like it was perfectly placed.
They worked body parts.
The ring outages, the working that they were doing on the ring outages, there's something about let me roll in, roll out. I'm going to go fuck this guy up for a little bit. I'm going to roll back in, roll out.
Like, keep breaking the count.
Yeah, it really did sit well with me, and Kenny Omega gave me the rival I think that I haven't really seen, at least in my opinion, John Moxley have at this point.
And that's why he's the guy to beat him, though, right?
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Because the guys you've seen him fight at this point, Eddie Kingston was a good match. It was a physical match, but it wasn't the right guy to beat.
Right.
Mox. And then also MJF, he's on his way up, but he wasn't the guy either. Like,
there wasn't the feeling like he was in any real danger.
He would have had to cheat. It wouldn't have been a real win.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let him use the paradigm shift.
Spoiler on this, but, like, Omega cheats in this too, but, like, he didn't need to. Like, Omega, if he beats John Moxley legitimately, he's like, we would all believe it the same way.
No, and I was okay with it. I mean, my biggest question mark, and I wanted to call you on this, was very WWE-esque, the leaving the arena with the belt. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. He beats Moxley, runs out of the arena, and all we're told is that we can find Kenny Omega on TNA Wrestling next week.
So the missing link for you, Matt, is the guy who he runs out with, Don Callis.
Yeah.
And maybe you picked this up through the broadcast. Don Callis is a TNA announcer.
Yep.
He was allowed to do the AEW broadcast because Kenny Omega requested it. Kenny Omega and him have a relationship, as they talked about on the broadcast, from when they were younger, right?
They fucking?
No.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
No, this is a strictly platonic relationship that they have.
Figured that out.
But he is also like the announcer who's been announcing him in Japan a ton and everything. So they have like a long relationship here. But Omega gets him into the building, and Omega utilizes him to help cheat.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing I'm trying to remember, was he gonna throw the towel in on this? Was it when he runs up and I'm just kind of foggy on the end?
No, so there's a distraction moment, and then he throws in the microphone.
Yeah, so it was the microphone that he runs down.
Yeah, he throws in with the microphone.
I was trying to remember because I was trying to remember if it was 2 times that they brought up throwing in the towel on the same show.
No. In this one, he distracts the ref and he gets the microphone in the ring.
So he does that, and it's and that's I liked it.
Yeah,
like the shot.
Yep.
Moxley, of course, blades. They were making a big deal of throwing him into that heating unit. Like they made a very big deal out of that.
Moxley was bleeding at the end of it. Like it's one of those things where I'm like,
the microphone, yeah,
dude. You guys have done the worst to this. Like the heating thing, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about it.
So then they proceed to do the run out of the arena, and I appreciated how long the run was. I feel like at some point you could probably make a montage like Rocky style, because he runs very far, and I love that he's just running by people who are like, "What the fuck, dude? What's going on, Kenny? Dude, what are you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? Where you headed, Ken?" It's real weird. But the mullet just flowing as he's leaving. I don't know if that you have to add a montage to it just for that reason.
But then he says, "See you on Impact," and Impact is not AEW for anybody who's watching who doesn't know that.
Newsflash.
It's a whole other channel. It's a whole other organization who have not worked together. They at one point had talked about it, but stuff fell apart, and like there was some behind the scenes trouble there that led to them not working together at all. So this is kind of huge. And to say that like their champion is going to show up on the other show, are you going to tease some type of like disloyalty between the organization, like with Kenny Omega? Like what is it? Because Kenny Omega is like essentially one of the people running AEW.
So that's okay. Answer a couple questions for me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what I know.
No. He takes the belt. He goes over to Impact TNA. What does that mean for a guy like Jon Moxley?
I think at this point, Moxley can't get the belt back for a while. Anyways, he's had the belt for almost a year, if not over a year. He's done everything he had to do with it. It is time for him to step away from the title picture, but he has enough of a gripe here too, where he's probably going to get another rematch. I don't know when you pull the trigger on that rematch, but it's going to happen. And when it does happen, there's going to be a lot of heat to it because it'll be their third matchup now, the rubber matchup between them. Obviously, some dirty finish to this too.
Yeah,
adds even more fuel to the fire. So I'm excited to see where that goes too, but I wouldn't mind if something catches Mox's attention that pulls him in another direction for a few weeks.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting there. And then the only other thing that I had was Kenny Omega going over to TNA. Does that open up? Again, I'm not familiar with how wrestling organizations kind of coexist. Does that open up an opportunity for them to do some type of cross champion battle, maybe a pay-per-view where you're getting the best of both organizations?
So recently there's been comments by Kenny Omega and I believe also the guy who owns AEW, Tony Khan, of like, we'd be willing to work with even the WWE if it made sense. It just has to make business sense. But we're all in for like boosting the wrestling world, especially in a time where like they all could use the help. The WWE would never do that, and I think that's just a good PR move by AEW, being like, well, it's not us, it's them. But it's like, realistically, there's too many logistics and major companies like that working together. But in this sense, like TNA in AEW, I think that could really work out. Because I don't think TNA is going to have any issue letting Omega go over one of their guys, because he's going to bring over so many viewers that a channel like Access TV, like I don't even know what station that's actually on. Like I would have to look it up.
I know they're on DirecTV.
Sure. There you go. You can also see them, I think, on Twitch as well.
No
But
idea.
your wrestling shows on Twitch and your wrestling shows on Access TV, and you're gonna get a guy the level of Kenny Omega, who's been on TNT like broadcast, drawing
Big
like pretty big ratings. Like, that's a huge value, even if he's going over your guys, just to be in good matches, competitive matches with them.
Off the top of your head, who's the big star that's going to stand out? Maybe a big match for him.
In TNA, I'm probably not the guy to talk to. I would say you're probably going to see him in there with like maybe Eddie Edwards. Moose is another guy I know is pretty legit over there. They do have some real talent, and it's a show I've actually tried to watch, but it's a different kind of wrestling.
Okay.
It's just, wrestling's a weird entity, as you've seen, and I stick to a couple of lanes and I dabble outside of it for big stuff, but it's just not my scene.
All right, so can we close? Are you okay with closing the chapter on Winter is Coming?
It's come.
I would say Winter has come and someone is gone.
Yeah, it's busted all over the place.
I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds soothing almost, in a way. But the one that I think I was more excited about, NXT TakeOver.
Mm-hmm. It was a fun event.
Which one?
Yeah.
There's so many. Okay.
Between the two cage matches here, I think the men's was starkly better, but there's conversations to be had about both of them.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Do you want to kick it off with the ladies, or you want to kick it off with the men?
So let's kick it off with the ladies.
Okay.
Women's
ladies
WarGames.
first.
Absolutely.
Chauvinists we are.
Ladies
Oh,
first.
is that right? I think we're not chauvinists.
Whatever. I stick to words that I know.
I stick to the lakes and the rivers that I'm used to.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, baby. But starting with the women's war games, I always love the concept of not letting the best fighter in the ring. That little narrative there where we couldn't get
Io Shirai.
Io Shirai. I knew I was going to mess up her name.
That was a fun twist on this, was like keeping her. I thought that was an interesting way.
Well, from start to finish, because Ember Moon kind of being the person who started it off for team
Shotzi Blackheart.
Shotzi Black. Okay.
Blackheart.
I don't want to mess up people's names.
I got these ones.
Appreciate you. Her starting it off, I thought it was interesting that they kind of beat up on her, because the history that I saw was that Toni Storm kind of turned on her.
Not that they had they didn't have a long-standing friendship or anything, but they were two baby faces, and Toni Storm has been a baby face on WWE TV this whole time.
Yeah, and she took a turn.
Yeah.
She turned heel.
At a good time. I think and she came off well, I think, in her heel role.
I think the commentary did her a great service, because if you don't really know what's happening in the ring, it's really confusing. Like, what's this girl doing? Why is she taking ring pads off? Why is she bringing in kendo sticks? She's been slapping somebody with those kendo sticks. The commentators did a great job of kind of showing us the evolution of Toni Storm. And from start to finish, I was always wondering, what's the big deal with the last two fighters, right? There has to be some type of storyline there.
Yeah.
And Shirai being the top of the women's division for NXT, her entrance to make War Games official, I get so excited just seeing it.
When she put the
trash can on herself and jumped off.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Totally awesome.
The spot that was scary is when she still had the trash can over her head and they did the stomp onto it and she got stuck inside.
I thought that was going to happen on the first one.
Yeah.
I was like, if she gets pinched in there, that's no good.
But I was actually legitimately worried, because they were like, she was really trying to get her out of there and she couldn't get her out.
It was very interesting.
One of the most unusual things about this match was the layout, because typically the formula for a War Games, and they followed this in the men's, is the heel group would be the group you want to have the heat, right? So you want them to have the advantage. So in this, you actually had it flip-flopped, where the women were the ones, the babyface women were the ones with the advantage in this. That's why the end where they were trying to keep Io Shirai out so badly played so well. Where it's like, okay, you were supposed to have the advantage the whole time, but they basically kept her out of the cage the entire last time, and it nullified any advantage for the last few minutes before War Games officially started.
There were a lot of key moments. The showdown between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. I was going to say Gomez. I'm glad you there.
Very few women can match the stature, like physical stature, of Rhea Ripley.
Raquel Gonzalez did a fantastic job in that match.
And benefited the most from this match. Yeah, it came out. I mean, Rhea Ripley is like incredible. Like maybe the best female wrestler out there.
Again, another question. When we see these wrestlers that almost seem larger than life, Rhea Ripley seems like that type of character that no one is beating her.
They shouldn't. Like, she holds up all ends of the bargain. She can talk. She has the look. She's physically intimidating. Because personally, for me, like I think that she could beat the shit out of any guy probably, but also has a certain attractiveness to her at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it's unique. Like I'm not going to say there's a lot of, like a bunch of people are breaking down the doors for Rhea Ripley.
No,
but,
I certainly understand what
she
you mean.
She can like teeter that boundary of like muscular and intimidating, but has an attractiveness to her.
She's very
and that's
graceful.
huge.
She's graceful for being that.
Yeah, she has a feminine quality to her still. And Raquel Gonzalez, for what it's worth, I think does as well.
Yeah. My question is, did you get enough of that showdown?
No,
Dakota Kai, bitch.
This is what you've been missing, Matt. Is this? They've had a couple matches. If you want to go back and dial some stuff
I will
up,
have to.
Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez for now have had a couple really good matches on TV. So that was just a continuation of their feud, not the first time that we've seen it.
All right.
But they had great moments in this. I thought everybody had great moments. I didn't see a ton of Candice LeRae, I felt like, as much this year, but she ended up breaking her arm in this match. Or rumor is that she broke her arm.
Wow, I'd like to see the spot when it happened, because there were a lot of instances where at one point all 8 women are on the cage at one point.
Yeah.
And you just see bodies go everywhere. So I wonder if that might have been the spot for it.
I love Shotzi Blackheart.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of her. Like she has a very the thing is that in NXT's women division, the WWE's, we've talked about this before. Like their women's division is deep. Great, like huge. Talented, a lot of really talented women, right? And this is another one where there's some unique ones. Like, did you love that's Toni Storm. Did you love the entrance on the tank when they all did the pose at the very beginning? Fantastic. And then she shot the thing at the cage? That was awesome.
It was great because it had the entrances, it had the build up of, and you said, usually you have the heel be the one who kind of have the advantage. At one point, I didn't know who I was supposed to be rooting for. Yeah, and then Toni Storm showed up, and I was like, okay, now I know who I'm rooting for. Yeah, 100%.
The ending spot. Let's wrap on the women's there. Like the ending spot, the power bomb, which was a little clunky at a little point there, but it was impressive nonetheless. Like
that's how you finish a match.
Yeah, and I felt bad for Io Shirai, and it was crazy. They had her pin the champion too.
Yes,
they had her pin the champion. So you come out of that like, no, Raquel Gonzalez is not to be fucked with.
Legit in every sense of the way, and started the whole thing with keeping Io Shirai out of the ring in the first place. Great way to kind of build her stock.
Yeah, and in a not the best WarGames match, but a good start to the event.
Moving over to men's WarGames, this is where a lot of my appreciation for the art, the skills, Pat McAfee going in there and taking a beating, to say the least, a well-deserved beating, perhaps.
He's not half-ass in there.
No,
you wouldn't say Pat McAfee's half-ass in there.
No, I wasn't okay with the amount of times that they were like, "So you want to be a professional wrestler?"
I liked when I didn't like the announcers doing it. No. I did like when he had the moment with Kyle O'Reilly, where Kyle O'Reilly's like talking shit to him.
Right here, slapping the chair.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, you wanted to get in here, you wanted to do this. Well, let's find out. Like, and then he just spends a minute kind of talking to him. I loved everything. Like Pat McAfee is electric, and he's transferred over into this so well. He had just his ambiance in the cage beforehand, when they're in the little tank, like waiting to go into the ring. Yeah. And he walks out and they're like, wow, they say on the announcement, like, well, it's great. It's crazy that like, it's good to see Pat McAfee's leading his team. He's going to go start the match. And then it's like, whoa. Like Pete Dunne's like, no, I got it.
Yeah.
And then when he's like the second person out, he's like, all right, like I'm going to go in there. And it's like, Oni Lorcan's like, no,
I got this.
And every time it just let it keep building up. And then you get that showdown again of like, for some reason, Adam Cole's like the best wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the world in NXT. But you put him in there with Pat McAfee, and you still just want to see the two, go at it.
The personalities, you could just feel it was electric.
Mm-hmm. Let's start here, though.
Yes.
In terms of the match, the first 5 minutes between Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly. Is Kyle O'Reilly not your favorite wrestler? Because I feel like for you, no.
Pete Dunne is my favorite wrestler. Kyle O'Reilly definitely in my top 5.
Like Kyle O'Reilly is so fucking good. This guy is so good.
Well, he has it all. He has the flair. He can do the big moves. He's aggressive. Pete Dunne, for me, he just brings something. He has an aura about him.
The joint manipulation.
The joint manipulation is probably the reason why I'm so interested. He's breaking dudes' fingers. He's misplacing that, and he's doing it with like a. I don't care that a dude is about to hit me with a chair in my back. I'm still getting this shit done over here.
And like their styles mesh really well.
Yeah, it was a great way to start it. But it just continually got better from there.
Yeah, because and then I loved the double team work with Pete Dunne and Oni Lurkin on Kyle O'Reilly. There was one really cool spot where he had his legs brought and he pulled his arm. Pete Dunne pulled his arms behind his back and doing like a surfboard type maneuver, and he was chopping him on the chest, right? And then Oni Lurkin just grabs him in a DDT position from there and drives him down. I really thought that was creative and cool. But then stuff keeps building because then you get the addition of, I feel like it was Bobby Fish was next.
Bobby Fish was the next one.
Who is a more powerful version of Kyle O'Reilly.
He's a big guy.
Who does he remind me of from like an MMA perspective? He reminds me of. I want to say like Jim Miller even works, but there's a guy specifically in my head, like maybe it's like Sean Shirk or something.
Because he's
like,
just
like he's like a little tiny like dude.
You said MMA. I was jumping back into the old WCW world. Buff Bagwell.
Okay, yeah, way better wrestler.
Probably way better. But Buff Bagwell was jacked,
yoked up,
and if he was throwing a flying lariat or a big boot, it looked pretty good.
Bobby Fish was throwing some mean spine busters that I really liked, and everything like he looked crisp. Then you move into the next person out there was Danny Burch, who was also great. Maybe it was vice versa. Maybe Burch came out and then Oni Lurkin. But either way, they look identical to each other.
Lurkin's the one that got pinned at the end, right? I'm sorry to jump to the end.
I want to say it was Danny Burch who got pinned at the end. But
Oni Lurkin was the one that got pinned.
Okay.
That I remember because I told myself, I was like, there's no way in hell after 45 minutes of getting his ass kicked in there, do you make Pete Dunne take that fucking pin?
Yeah. And I want to save.
Sorry.
I want to save that ending
really
because
excited.
I really like the ending. So it all builds up to getting Pat McAfee in there. McAfee comes out, pulls out these tables that say all 4 members of the Undisputed Era on it. Part of what was so good about this too is that you have 2 established at this point factions. Undisputed Era is like 3-4 years in. They've every single year they've done war games. Yeah. Like they've come out victorious. Some of them they've lost. But then you now have a faction on the other end that is working as like a cohesive unit, and it worked really well in these. I think like they went another 20 minutes after war games officially begins. Yeah. And there's just some really cool moments. Was there anything? So Pat McAfee, like to kick it off here, as far as stuff that stood out once all 4 of them were in there. McAfee's moonsault onto the table.
Yes.
Perfect. Have you seen a better moonsault?
I was going to ask you, how many times has Pat McAfee been in the ring?
This is his second match, and it's fucking war games.
Insane.
And his first match is maybe equally as impressive.
Because he takes, I think, 3 spots in this match where I'm like, if you're not a professional wrestler, no one trusts you to do that.
Yeah, no, he's just such a gifted, and this guy's a punter. This is what people don't understand about the NFL too. When they look at something and they want to like be like, oh no, like I could fucking do that, or it's not that hard to be a punter or a kicker. Not all punters or kickers are this level athlete. Don't get me wrong. Like, and Pat McAfee has talked about this on his podcast, that not everybody's his level of athlete, but there are these guys out there like Marquette King. That guy was like electric as well.
Brandon
right?
McManus.
Yes. So there's these guys out there that are like the elite, like the people who make it to the NFL are like 1% of the
Joey Sly. There we go. Another one. Dude's huge.
I don't know if he's like a good athlete though necessarily.
Jacked.
Either way,
put him in WWE.
The moonsault is like Kurt Angle-esque in terms of gracefulness. It's smooth. It's slow. It like just it is perfect. And to do it onto a table, like right out the gate, like that was the first thing he did.
He lands on it perfectly, Len. But he does have another spot where I don't think he landed as perfectly.
Which one are you going?
We talking the Swanton bomb that he did off the cage.
It was a rough landing. I've rewatched it a few times now.
It's
not his fault.
It's not his fault at all. Nobody caught him.
Well, so like they did and they didn't. Like he got caught on the upper part of his body, but his legs and his ass drill the mat.
That was where I was like, all right, Pat McAfee, baddest dude in the world.
And that's early. Like he does a lot more.
Because he's got like 10 minutes after that.
Yeah, like he does that. I still think after that he gets superplexed off of the top rope by Roderick Strong, which was pretty crazy. You also have the table spot that he takes. He gets pushed off of the top rope, and he does the weirdest. Like that was the most comical bump. But I get it because it's Pat McAfee, because he had to make sure he got there. Yeah. The table's pretty far away. So when he gets pushed, you can see he kind of he kind of jumps. Yeah. And then he's flat the whole way through it. And it was good nonetheless, because again, it's like Dude,
not knocking
this guy is he's already gone off the top of the cage. He had that happen, and then he goes through that table. He's also moonsaulted into a table. He's in there for the shit. Like he's for the shit.
He takes some good spots, and then he had a moment. There was a sequence where Team McAfee was getting drilled up against the cage.
That was the next one I wanted to get into. Yeah.
Boom. Robbie Fish.
They did the same moves to each one of them in succession. Yeah.
Robbie Fish shoulder checks them. Bobby Fish. Sorry. I was thinking of the chess player. Bobby Fischer, shoulder. Sorry. Whatever, man. Bobby Fish shoulder checks everybody in that lineup, and it is intense. And the only way it gets worse is they take a knee right after
from Roderick Strong, and then Adam Cole finishes off with the super kicks.
Dude, the super kick on Pete Dunne, should be illegal.
It
should be illegal.
It leads to a great moment when you again get the 4 dudes surrounding Pat McAfee, where it's like, oh yeah, no, you're here now. Like, what are we gonna do? Yeah,
and he gets his ass kicked
a little bit. Yeah, until the big save. When you're gonna have Adam Cole's gonna punt him the way that Pat McAfee's been punting people's heads. And you get the save by the team, and this leads to that finish, which I said to you via text that night, or when we were watching it, I was like, dude, I love the ending sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were going to mention Pete Dunne taking the loss. Pete Dunne does the most brutal thing in this entire match. He does the X-Plex, which is him tosses Adam Cole up. Adam Cole spins from his back to his stomach, landing face first. But instead of landing on a mat, they set up a chair,
takes it to the rim,
and but it not it's a folding chair, and he lands on the top part of the folding chair. Nothing to brace him. There was not really a way to make
there was no give on that chair.
It
didn't bend, it didn't fold, nothing.
It was brutal. And then the other thing I texted you right after that is then Roderick Strong does his finisher, and did you note the height that Pete Dunne gets to land on the man's knees?
Dude, he is at one point his feet are due north.
It's that was nuts too, and it happened so that ending happened so quick that all that stuff's happening.
He has 2 spots though.
Yeah, he does.
That are nasty.
He drops him on the chair, and then immediately.
So that's how it finishes, right? About 2 minutes before that, he gets slammed in the middle of the 2 rings.
Oh yes,
where there's just the steel.
Yeah, the close finish. That was almost the finish.
That was almost the finish. Yeah,
from Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle O'Reilly slams him, and it's when I saw him hit it, he immediately goes to his head, and I had to, again. I'm going to ask you a question. At what point do we think that these guys are just joking around, or because he's holding his neck, and what does Kyle O'Reilly do? Grabs him by his neck. He goes, "Come here, buddy. Let me bring you over to this chair real quick." That's right before he lays Pete Dunne down, face down on the chair before the finishing sequence.
So this is one thing behind the scenes that I did here was, and it wasn't in this match, it was in the women's. There was a part with Ember Moon where she gets kicked in the face, and they actually had to, I think it's Dakota Kai brings her over to the side of the cage, and it's literally just a way for the refs to be like, hey, are you good? And run her through a quick, test type
medical
thing.
Check.
So, I mean, there is precautions being taken, but, best believe, they came out of this match sore as hell,
worse for wear,
beat up. Pat McAfee on his podcast the next day was wearing a neck brace, really hamming it up. I watched an interview with the Undisputed Era after, and that was really good. But we didn't even. So the finish still goes on from there, where you get Pete Dunne gets tossed to the moon and comes down on Roderick Strong's knees, and then you get the move where it's Oni Lorcan at this point is holding the chair. Goes to swing, misses, gets hit with the high-low, so the sweeping leg, and then a kick to the face with the chair, which then leads to Kyle O'Reilly, which one of the things I love, it's like The Undertaker, when you, instead of jumping off of the
turnbuckle, you go to the
rope. Middle, so he goes to the middle of the ropes and jumps off and does a knee drop onto a chair on the guy's face.
Yes.
And the most important thing coming out of this, though, Matt, or one of the most important things, obviously Undisputed Era winning was questionable in my mind, because I think their clout is so high right now that they could afford to take a loss to another faction to build them up. It makes me question, is Pat McAfee going to be back anytime soon? Or is this a way to write them off for a few weeks?
But correct me if I'm wrong. Team McAfee, it almost seemed like there was a mercenary feel for it. Hey, Pat's the richest, baddest dude in sports entertainment. Again, he's a punter.
But they were doing a good job of protecting him, right?
Right. But my question is that something that you can do again, where you're all right, we're bringing back Dunne.
I think you could have had ways to take it if they had have won, because then you could have them go on to win other belts and take out other people and like maybe build to another team up. The only team left out there faction wise, like Imperium with Walter is like the other big like 4-person faction that's out there in NXT. So we'll see what goes. Maybe there's some way you would work all three of those teams in together.
Be interesting.
But the other big thing coming out of this is Kyle O'Reilly got the pinfall.
Yes.
That's important to remember here. Because, Adam Cole is being pretty gracious, I think, in a lot of this because he's already seen his moment in a way. He had the title for a really long time.
He wasn't the like big name to come out of this.
No, he had some really great moments, like,
moments,
and stood out at times with him and Pat McAfee have this great like chemistry. But it seems like the baton has been passed to Kyle O'Reilly. And Kyle O'Reilly gets the win here. And realistically, I think they have a card for New Year's coming up, but I forget what it's called. Something evil. New Year's Evil, I think is what it's called. No, I don't think it was that. But I think it's called New Year's Evil. And they're going to have that coming up. And it's going to probably be the rematch of Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly. And I think this is just a good opportunity at New Year's Evil. I think that's just a really good opportunity for the rematch of a match that was great that we both watched between Finn and Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly probably doesn't win there, but it's going to be kind of a good matchup that we get on probably free TV. And it's going to lead to the guy that you haven't even really seen that I'm excited for you to find out about. Scroll down a little bit here, Matt. Karrion Kross. It was a little higher. Nope, you missed it. But either way, it doesn't matter. Karrion Kross, who's a guy that I think you should go and check out.
Karrion Kross. Where do I know the name from?
He was called Killer Kross on the Indies. He was around for a little bit here. He actually won the championship, but in the same match, he beat Tommaso Ciampa to win the belt. Okay. He tore his ACL or like pec or something like that. So he's been out since the day he dropped the title. He relinquished the title. That leads to Finn Balor getting the belt.
Oh, okay.
So he's actually healthy now. I think what you see here is probably Finn Balor beats Kyle O'Reilly in the rematch. It's going to be super physical. And then maybe you have Karrion Kross come out at the end, do the big grand. His entrance is one of the best in wrestling.
Okay.
And you have him come out and you do a stare down here, and that's something I'd really be excited for because Finn with anybody's great, but him and Karrion Kross will be awesome. And Karrion Kross's girl, Scarlett Bordeaux, everybody. Scarlett
I'd be lying if I didn't say we're following her on Instagram at For Those With Good Taste.
Wow. Okay. Well, she's a treat.
We're about that life.
She is a treat. But sounds like you enjoyed this. There's a lot of stuff going on here that we're going to look forward to seeing. Man, I genuinely enjoyed both these War Game matches. They're always exciting. So
exciting and just continue to get me to appreciate this entertainment a little bit more. It's
a big week for wrestling.
Giving me a new avenue for content where I want to check some things out. And it's bringing out those inner feels of enjoying wrestling again.
And what you're seeing is they're putting out stuff that you're able to come back weekly, and now you're starting to kind of see the lines of like progression and storylines and stuff, which is where you get hooked with this stuff. Is like the thing with wrestling is I think a lot of people can appreciate it on a one night basis, so you can tune into WrestleMania and get the nostalgia and like enjoy the matches and stuff. But to really like be a wrestling fan, it's almost like you have to buy into the soap opera too.
Yeah.
And once you start seeing it week over week, it's almost hard to, if it's a good story, to not get bought into it.
They can snap you up really quickly. Mm-hmm. They got the right people in place. I really want to. The only way I think we can wrap this up is what's going to happen on TNA and Impact. Do we see Kenny Omega? What's going to happen?
Yeah, we got to check out Impact tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to have to check out TNT tomorrow and see Dynamite. I'm also going to be seeing what happens on the fallout to NXT because you're going to get the official build to New Year's Evil because it's only a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of aftermath. I have to tune into Pat McAfee's podcast. I want to see that shot of him with the neck brace.
If you're not checking out Pat McAfee's
I gotta jump on that.
It is a very good podcast. He is a funny fucking guy.
Listen, that man earned my respect in those cages. I loved every minute of the event. I'm interested to see where that storyline goes next.
Cool. I can't wait to get back here and talk wrestling again, bud.
It's been fun, man. This was a good one. Every time we can get in here and talk about grown men in underwear touching each other.
Sign me up, dude.
I mean,
I can't get enough of that stuff.
When do we stop pretending that it's okay to just fight in those underwears? Why aren't guys just adapting to the long pants look?
I don't have a good answer for you, Matt, but
do your research. We'll come back and we'll answer that right in here. Maybe you have the answer. If you know why wrestling advocates stars, superstars, athletes, why do they wear the no leg underwear?
It's probably the glutes, dude.
What about the glutes? Are you showing them off? I don't.
Yes.
No, man. Too many times I'm seeing a taint that I'm not interested in seeing.
I think it's the scooch. I think it's honestly, for me at this point, if you're focused on that too much, maybe you're the problem.
I think I am the problem. If you think I'm right or you think Lenny's right,
If you think
let
he's
us
the
know.
problem, not that he's right.
I'm pretty sure I am a problem, so don't answer that. If I'm right, he's right. Let us know. Hit us in the comments. Hit us in the chat. Make sure you hit like. Hit the subscribe button. You've got a lot of work to do before you leave this video. Make sure it gets done. But Lenny, we're getting the hell out of here.
Yeah. Till next week, everybody. Peace out.
Later, guys.
Love you.